Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, we are live. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight. How are you guys doing? Okay, it looks like we have about 8 people here. How are you? How has your day been? Okay, just make sure I'm well set up here. I think everything looks perfect. Let's see this other view. Doesn't make any difference. What do you guys prefer, this or this? The other one. Doesn't matter. I think this is better. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Welcome to our live training. Hi. Hi, 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 hi. So I'm going to actually go on the live platform to see you
Live
guys.
training. Hi.
Sorry for the echo. I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Hi, Chrislyn. Hi, Peace. Hi, Funke. Hi, Nalisha. Hi, Todd. Hi, Olufemi. How are you guys doing? Welcome to our live training tonight. I hope you are having a great evening so far. And this is a much needed live. By the way, just in case you don't know me, my name is Yinka Lumori. I'm a coach on this wonderful platform, Acquire Real Estate. Um, I have done over 45 deals ranging from wholesaling to lease options, fix and flips, short-term rentals, long-term rentals. Um, I do multifamilies as well, and I do new constructions. Why don't you tell me in the chat if you're a brand new investor looking to get started, or you've done some deals as well, and tell us where you're from. I welcome every one of you to this live training. Um, this topic is so important because this is one thing that helped me to take our business from 6 figures to 7 figures within 3 years, 36 months. Right. So um, I tend to take it for granted, but I don't anymore. I don't do that anymore because I see a lot of people talk to me and they're wondering, how is this a thing? Is this even possible? So a lot of people still don't know about this. Um, and, they're pretty much suffering in silence. So please introduce yourselves. I'm very excited to be here and I'm very excited to be talking about this very important topic. Okay. Brand new Femi, welcome. You're a licensed agent. Yeah, so it's a little different, right? When you're an agent, it's kind of different. The way that you see things, you gotta have that training for investors, right? To be able to invest like an investor. But it's so good to be an agent. It comes in handy, or at least work with an agent, right? That is good. Done one deal already. Congratulations, Funke. About closing on a duplex. I love that. From Indiana. Welcome. Good afternoon, Lance from Louisiana. Welcome, everybody. Okay, I think this training is actually going to be very helpful to a lot of you guys, whether you're new or old. It might be a refresher for you if you're old, but I know people have different ways of going about things. So if you've been buying your property out of your pocket, then this would really be helpful to you. Hi, Fagbenro, brand new looking to get started from New Jersey. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys here. So people don't believe uh, that this is actually possible, and it's all I've done. Okay, I had a six-figure job that wasn't doing much. Let's see if I can center a little bit more. Yeah, better. So I had a six-figure job that wasn't doing much. You know, when you're earning six figures, people kind of think you're rich, right? Um, and you're not that different from a five-figure earner sometimes, especially if you're like in the hundred range. When I was doing my 9 to 5, so it was hard to save money. It was hard to do anything. So I really literally had no choice then to go the no money down route, rather than investing out of pocket. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see your chats. Thank you. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. We have 14 people here. That's awesome. Amazing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. And just feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself in the chats. You can see my eyes like going all over the place. I just want to make sure we're not disconnected. So I try to look at the live chat, what's going on, and also just make sure everything is still well set up. I actually haven't used StreamYard before. This is the first time, so please pardon me with eyes being everywhere and just making sure you guys can see me and hear me. If you stop hearing me for any reason, let me know. Okay. All right. So this is how you may be doing it wrong. And a lot of people are actually doing it the wrong way. Okay. So let's say you're saving, right? You're probably saving a lot of money. You're taking your time to save. The problem is the time it takes to save enough money, right? To be able to do a deal. So if you're talking about doing it traditional way, let's say you're putting down 25% on a property, right? So if your property is worth let's say 200K, so you got to come up with about 40,000 or a little bit less if you're at 20% down payment. Okay. So saving takes so long. And the other thing is you might actually realize eventually that you didn't have enough. You didn't save enough. It's just not going to work, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to just terminate that deal and wait and save some more? Doesn't make sense, right? So what are you going to do if that happens? Saving is a problem. Number two, you're going to a regular bank. I know. You feel like, if I don't go to the bank, where do I go? You're going to a regular bank to 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 apply for loans. And I just really wanted to check our group real quick, make sure that everybody is in safely. Pardon me while I do that, because some people might be waiting to join. Okay, so I have a few people here, actually 9 people. So I'm just going to quickly approve, and um, we can continue our training. Okay, it's not showing me that approval thingy. I'm sorry. I wish you had joined earlier. So you're gonna have to catch up on the training later. So if you're here, congratulations, because I can't get to approve anyone into the group right now. Okay, so let's keep discussing about this. I'm just gonna go back to my screen. All right. So you're going to a regular bank. The issue is down payment, right? You have to put down that down payment, 20%, 25%. Actually, some of those banks would not even fund a property that maybe even has peeling paints, like FHA loans would actually need the seller to fix that. So you can't even buy, in most cases, you can't buy a property that needs work. And you need a property that needs work because you've got to build equity, right? Whatever work it needs. So it appraises for more. And so you can have that. I mean, that's how you build wealth in real estate investing, right? So the down payment is an issue. The condition of the property is an issue. Now, income. Okay. Some of you guys are entrepreneurs. You're not going to qualify for a mortgage. You won't likely qualify for a mortgage if you don't have a steady W 2. What if your W 2 income does not even qualify for that price point of properties, right? So income can be an issue. The other thing is a good credit score. right? You got to have a pretty good credit score that works for that particular lender. So you need that credit score. But what if you don't have income? You don't have a job, maybe, or you don't have a W 2, a regular job. Maybe your job is even a 1099, which is more like a contracting kind of job, right? It gets tough to qualify for mortgage, right? What if you don't have that down payment? What if you don't have a good credit score? Okay. So the other thing with doing it wrong is you have to wait. So I'm just going to go back to where we talked about savings. When you're talking about savings, how many deals can you do with savings? Let's say you're like me when I got into real estate investing, and that's still what I do. When I look at doing multiple properties in a year, right? That was my goal, and that's what I made happen. And I had to rely, if I had to rely on my savings, right? I can only probably buy one property in a year. And that's if I can save that much every single year, save enough down payment for each property. Trust me, I see people doing that, right? And I think it's funny because it's high cost, like not knowing that there's a different approach is actually costing you a lot. It's costing you a lot of properties every year. So you're waiting every year to be able to be physically capable of buying an investment property. So that is wrong. Okay. So how do you do it right? How do you do it right? You don't have that money down, without income verification or debt to income ratio, without a good credit, without waiting for your savings to grow, without waiting for the market. So talking about waiting for the market, people are funny. Now you're saying that the interest rate is so high, you don't want to buy a property, you're waiting for the interest rates to come down, right? No. Here's why. When the interest rate eventually comes down, like you're waiting, the competition is going to be extremely high. Now you're bidding, people are overbidding on properties, and it's going to drive up that property price. It's going to drive up the prices. They will be too expensive. They'll be going quickly off the market as soon as it comes on the market because now you have multiple bids. Now you have multiple offers. Now you can't even get to buy a property. So if you ask me, this is the right time to actually get started. If you wait for interest rates to come down, I'm sorry. But if you did it right now with high interest rates and eventually you have the option to refinance to get out of that loan and choose another loan with a lower interest rate, at least you were able to lock down that price, right? If you wait for interest rates to come down, prices are going to go up. You can't really find properties like you would in the previous market. So do it right away. Okay, so this is the right time. How do we do it right? There are three different ways I'm going to talk about right now. There are multiple of ways you can do this, trust me, and I've done a couple. But we're only going to talk about three right now because I like to avoid information overwhelm. Because I'd rather have you execute one thing and do it very well than just have so much going on. You can't do nothing, right? Because you don't have the full information 100% on one single thing. You're just all over the place with all this not knowing how to get started, okay? So seller financing is one. Seller financing. Maybe you've heard that before. Seller financing is the same as owner financing, but I like to stay away from owner financing because when someone sells a property to you with seller financing, they don't own it anymore, right? So they were a previous owner. They don't own it anymore. They sold it to you using seller financing, using terms. So this means that they are choosing to be the bank on the property. So they choose to be your bank. So that means you don't have to go find a bank that will qualify you, have the right debt to income ratio, have the right credit score, have the right down payments. You can always negotiate. Some seller financing actually would be fine with a zero down payment, right? Happens all the time. So seller financing is when a seller chooses to be the bank, when a seller accepts to be the bank, and in some cases, actually choosing to be the bank, right? It does happen, yes. Why would the seller choose not to cash out on the house and choose to be the bank instead? So basically, having you pay a monthly amount with interest. That's literally what seller financing means. Why would the seller choose not to cash out and just get you paying interest and have terms and things like that? Why? Why would the seller agree, right? Number one reason they would agree is less taxes. It makes a lot of sense for them for taxes. Would anyone here want to save on taxes? You think taxes can be a pain sometimes? Yeah, I'm just catching up with your comments. Taxes can be a pain. So people try to find ways to avoid paying high taxes, right? Including people who choose to go the seller financing route. So let me explain this tax situation to you guys. There's something we call capital gains taxes. So capital gain taxes are the taxes you pay when you sell an asset. Okay, when you sell an asset, you gotta pay taxes. So there are two types of capital gains taxes. There's the short term, and there's also the long term capital gains tax. Okay, so keep that in mind: short term capital gains and long term capital gains. So short term capital gains, when you're paying that kind of tax, you're paying actually up to 37% in taxes. Okay. So if someone chose to sell a property right away, they could pay up to 37% in taxes. Short term. And short term means within a year. So if you're selling a property within a year, you're finishing up that transaction within a year, you could pay up to 37% in capital gains, short term capital gains taxes. Okay, and then the other option is long term capital gains taxes. So you could pay between 0 to 15% in taxes when you choose a long term capital gains taxes, right? So when you choose to pay long term, or when you choose to sell a property long term, right, then you're going to be under the tax bracket, the long term capital gains, which means you're either paying nothing or the max you're paying is 15% in taxes, depending on how long that transaction takes. So, how long it takes to finish up that transaction or to sell that property. Okay. All right. So that's what capital gains means, short term and long term. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. And if you have any questions, certainly type that in the comments. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Why would the seller agree? Another reason is the monthly cash flow. Okay. So every single month they make money. So let's say a seller sells your property at $250,000 and they say, I'm going to seller finance it. Or you approach them and say, can you finance or seller finance this property? Can you be the bank? And they say, yes, I can be the bank. So literally, instead of you going to the bank, the seller holds that mortgage at $250,000, right? Loan term 30 years, amortization, and I'll explain that shortly. So it's 30 years. Generally speaking, that's really what we see for long term notes, like what we get from the banks on your own personal home. It's most likely a 30-year amortization mortgage, which means they spread out the payments over 30 years, right? Does that mean you can't pay early? You can, right? You can get out of that. You can pay it off, right? Let's say you did one solid real estate deal and you wanted to pay off that mortgage, fine, right? And let's say the seller agrees at a 5% interest rate, okay? Which is actually lower than what's out there right now in the banks. You probably get around 7-8% with a good credit score and everything looking good. You'd probably be at a 7-8%. Okay, but let's say you were able to negotiate off market, and actually I've seen people negotiate 0%. If you can you believe that? But let's say you're nice. You're a nice negotiator and you wanted it to be mutually beneficial and you're at 5%. So you offered your seller 5% interest rates. So this is what it looks like on the seller side. This is how much loan amount is at 250, and this is what it looks like month one, month two, month three, the months, and what kind of interest and principal you're paying. So instead of paying this to the bank, you're paying it to the seller. So look at this much interest every single month. This seller is being paid interest only. We're not even touching the principal. We're not touching the actual loan on the property. This is extra money for the seller, and it keeps going, right? This is extra money for the seller every single month. Guess what? Without owning the property, without tenants, without expenses, they just make this amount as a bank. So imagine how much we're paying the bank every month, right? It's not a bad idea for someone to say, I want to earn that. It's fine. Everyone has the right to do business, just like the banks have the right to do business. Okay. So they're paying, making this much. But guess what? You're also making money. We said your monthly payments is probably around, anyway, I can see that from here. So it's probably around 1,300. Let's say this property is renting for 1,700, right? Or 1,800. So you're getting that difference. Okay, so it's mutually beneficial. The seller is making a lot of money and you're also making your cash flow without actually going to the bank, without lining up for mortgage, without risking being denied, right? So it's mutual. And they're getting all this nice advantages, just giving you an idea of why anyone would do that, right? So another reason a seller would agree is because they are going to make more income. So at the end of the term of that loan, guess what? See how much income they're making out. We actually started from 250,000. Okay, look how much more they made on that property. So instead of selling their property at 250, paying short-term capital gains taxes up to 37% in taxes, they're actually making more money throughout the term of the loan. Because you're wondering, why would anyone be so nice to do that? This is why being nice pays. Okay, so that's how much they would make throughout the term of the loan. So what if now I say balloon and I put a question mark? Because let's say they say I can't go all the way to 30 years. Let's say they say something like, I'm old, I don't have family, I'm not having anyone inherit that property or whatever. Because actually, some people will go all the way to 30 years and have that property in a trust for their children, right? They're not in a hurry to make money off that property. They would rather have that property max out the return on investment, right? Trust me, there are people out there who really want to earn max money and not be in a hurry to, just make something out of a deal. They want to make the max. Okay. So some people actually go the entire 30-year term. However, some people would say, I can only do this for 5 years. Okay. So yes, I'll earn all that interest for 5 years, but you got to figure out another way to, or figure out what you want to do after 5 years. No problem. Okay. You got into the deal, no money down. You have a property, no money down. Or you have multiple properties, no money down. No problem. You didn't have to qualify for a mortgage. You didn't have to go to a bank. You didn't have to risk being denied. You didn't even need your credit score. And maybe you didn't need a down payment. You didn't have to give the seller anything to get started in the whole deal, right? No problem, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and refinance with the bank. And this time around, you're not going to line up. You don't need a down payment because the property has equity, right? So you're not going to need to pay the bank. You already own the property under different financing. Now you just need to refinance. Usually when you're refinancing, You just got to be within that 75% bracket for equity, and everything rolls over into a new loan. What if you still don't have good credits after 5 years? You can actually, or even income, like a steady income, you can actually use, instead of using a traditional bank, can actually use one of the commercial products out there for investors, right? They look at the ability of the property to make money. So what's the tenant paying? If, for instance, the tenant is paying 1,800 and you're paying 1,300 every month in mortgage payments, right? That's attractive to a bank. You're cash flowing. Bank wants that, so the bank sees it as an attractive investment. So they go ahead and fund you. No problem. Go ahead and refinance. If you're not using a bank, you're using a commercial uh, money lender or a hard money lender. Hard money lenders actually have competitive rates right now with banks. They're also starting at 6 points something, right? For hard money. So right now there's hardly any difference in the 30-year mortgages between hard money and a bank. So hard money looks very attractive right now because I mean you can just go into the deal just based off of the assets. So we call them asset-based lenders. They're not looking at your debt to income ratio. They look at your FICO, but at a very low amount. So your FICO needs to be probably around the 600, the 620 minimum and up. Some banks might be at 580, who knows, right? So it depends on everyone's situation. But in 5 years, you should be able to figure out, find a lender that works with your particular situation. So you go ahead and you refinance that property. Okay. Protection. So now let's talk about protection. Um, how is a seller protected if they can just be on the deal? If they can just be your bank, right? If they're your bank, what if you don't pay, right? What if you don't pay? Because they have a deed, they actually have a mortgage on that property. What happens when you don't pay your mortgage company? Can somebody tell me what happens? If you refuse to pay your mortgage, what happens? If you refuse to pay your rent, what happens? What happens if you refuse? If you refuse to pay your mortgage, of course they would foreclose on you, right? So actually, the seller has the right to take back the property, and it's not good. Good, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Funke. Yes, they'll foreclose on you. So the same way a bank has the right is the same way anyone with a note or a mortgage has the right to do that. Okay. So they get their property back, no problem. They've made some money, maybe. And you as well have made some money, although it's not a great idea to allow that to happen. But, you have made some money. So everybody goes their separate ways and they get their property. Well, I wouldn't call it their property. It's not their property anymore until you refuse to keep your terms on the agreement. The same way with a bank, it's not different. Okay? So they have a deed that protects them, and they also have insurance, right? So where do we find this kind of sellers? It's nice to say people can do this and all that stuff, but where exactly do you find sellers who would actually give their properties to you with that kind of agreement? I don't call it give, I'll say sell. They're selling their properties to you, being the bank. They choose to be the bank, or you offer to be the bank and they accept. So when you're offering someone to be the bank, remember the points we mentioned right here. You're going to tell them about all the good stuff that happens, how they're saving on taxes, how they're making monthly cash flows, how they're making a lot more, up to 150% of how much they would have made if they sold it outright, right? And they're saving taxes, so definitely more than 150% in savings over the term of the loan, right? So where do you find the sellers? If let's say you find someone who wants to sell, let's say you're driving by, um, and your neighbor next door is selling, and you say, "Hey, would you sell a finance? This is what you're gonna get when you sell a finance." And they agreed, "Yeah, you go under contract, you have a property." Okay, what if you don't have a neighbor that would do that, right? So what I'll have you do again, we're going back to our Facebook. Facebook is gold. Okay, Facebook needs to start paying me for this advertisements. So Facebook is go back to those Facebook groups. Okay. So you're going to type seller finance in the search bar on Facebook and you're going to choose groups. So why don't I have that E here? Because when you type it this way, it's going to pull both seller financing and seller finance, right? Um, so when I did that on my own end, this is what I had. I had all these groups pop up. All these groups got to join them. Okay. So we have all these groups popping up. You see a lot more groups, a lot. I actually couldn't scroll down enough. So you're joining all these groups and you're actually looking at deals. People are actually posting. Sellers are posting their properties. Sellers are offering seller finance. Wholesalers are offering properties that the sellers have already agreed to seller financing them. And they're right there for you to do your due diligence, punch in your numbers, make sure everything looks good. Right? Straightforward. The second way, hi, welcome, Sandy. The second way is a credit card. Yes, I said credit card. I know you guys have learned to stay away from the credit card, but my credit cards actually made me a lot of money. Okay. I mean, what's the point if you have an 850 credit score and you're broke? How smart is that? You have an 800 credit score and you're broke. You don't have no assets, you don't have no money. Why do you have credit cards? And some people have their debit cards. They refuse to get credit cards and build their credits. And you're broke. Why are you broke again? Remind me why you're broke. You should have assets. And that's the proper use of credits. I'm sorry, this is a credit world. If you're cash only, then you're going to need a lot of it. You're going to need a lot of it to grow, right? But if you leverage on available funding, so this funding is available because they make money and you make money if you structure it correctly. And that's why you're here, you're in the right space, you're in the right group, right? So the companies are making money. You are also making money if you know what you're doing. The companies know what you're doing. You must know what you're doing. Okay. So how do we pull money from our credit cards? There are a variety of ways, but the best way I'm going to say is using the software. And I'll talk about the software soon. Use that software, you pull, right? Use that software, you pull. And you can take this to closing if, let's say, you need to come up with down payment at closing. This can go to closing. I have done that multiple times. This can go to closing. Maybe you don't want it on your credit reports. Maybe you don't want that money, that's credit pull on your credit report. How do you go about that? No problem. Create an LLC. What I'm going to say about creating an LLC is this: don't create an LLC for the sake or for the heck of it, just to see how things work. Create an LLC when you're ready to start your business. So if you're starting today, yes, create that LLC, right? Create an LLC when you know what you're doing, when you're ready, when you feel like you have the guidance and the information you need to move forward, right? Because once you create an LLC, you have to register with Secretary of State, and then at least every year you kind of service it. Every state is different. It can be like between $80 or more, actually 120 a year or whatever. But there are also other things that you have to consider when you set up a business. So I would say create your LLC as soon as you're ready, and then get a business credit card. Okay, so this is not going to show up on your personal credit profile. Because when you create an LLC has its EIN, which is its own social security number. Okay. So it will have its EIN, it's acting as its own entity. You are your own entity with your social security number. Your business is its own entity with its EIN or its own social security number, which is an EIN. So when you get a business credit under your business, it goes under that EIN for reporting. Okay. And it's all business related spending, so even better. Right. So talking about software, business softwares are great. Okay. When you create that LLC, you can have like there are different softwares that work. You can have a QuickBooks software. and a bunch of other softwares out there that work to actually be able to pull this money into closing to buy the property. Okay. Third way, I hope you guys are following me. I hope you are getting this. Getting this. We're only talking about 3 ways today. There are a bunch of ways, trust me, guys. But if you only stuck with this 3 ways, there's no limit to how many deals you can do. Is the EIN the same as tax ID? Yes. Yes, that's your tax ID. Okay, good. So the third way is investor money lenders. There are certain specific money lenders that work with investors. Okay. And I think we've talked a little bit about them. We talked about hard money. We haven't spoken about hard money in details. But here's the thing, right, you guys? I have a training that goes in depth into this. And actually, that training actually also gives you um, a list, actually, the ebook. If you got into this group and you don't have the ebook, just take the training. If you like, you can type ebook in the comments, and Kristen is going to send that to you. But try to take the training because it goes in depth with hard money. So the thing with hard money is you're going to finance up to 100% of this property. Okay, up to 100%. And then the other people, the other one funding source is private money, a private money lender. And that's also up to 100%. So a lot of times we kind of mix and match both kinds of lending. That way you're not coming up with anything out of pocket. Okay. Right. So I do this a lot. I do this year in, year out, many times a year. I have people that I work with that make this happen all year round. So if you're still saving money to buy a property, what are you doing? I don't know if that's bad. That's bad. I think it's bad to do that. With this, guys, you can do 20 deals a year if you wanted to. Sometimes we're doing 6 projects at once because of this opportunity, right? Okay. So recap again. Talked about seller financing. Talked about credit cards. We talked about private money lending and hard money lending. Okay. And you can always go back into the training and refresh your memory about this. And I want you guys to actually go launch into those groups. Okay. So for the training, if you actually you guys actually type in training in the comments because Kristen is going to send that to you. If you don't already have that training, she's going to send it to you. And then the other thing I want to give you guys tonight is a calculator, the amortization calculator. So let's say you approach the seller and the seller says yes, but you're trying to figure out how much you're going to pay every single month to the seller. You have no clue. Okay, so type calculator in there if you want an amortization calculator where you punch in the numbers. So let's say you're trying to negotiate the interest rates. You're trying to see if you want to give the seller 3.5% interest versus a 6% interest, and you're going back and forth and you want to see where your monthly payments will be. Type calculator in there and I'll have Kristen send that over to you. I don't see any further questions here. And I think we've come to the end of the training. So if you want the ebook, type ebook. Definitely take that training. The training is going to give you the ebook and it's going to give you private money lending resource. Okay. And then also type in calculator if you need the calculator. If you need any further help, definitely let Kristen know or let me know. And we'll be there to help you. And for now, we are all set with this training. I hope you all have a great evening and see you next week, hopefully. All right. On Tuesday. Goodbye.